In case you didn't know, welcome to our virtual coffee date party here with Virtual Networkers. I'm so happy to see everybody here. I'm going to continue to let some folks in while I do my introductions. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jill Celeste. I am the founder of Virtual Networkers. I founded Virtual Networkers in 2018, way before COVID, because I was determined to find a way to network without leaving my house. I'm a low energy introvert. And though I loved going to the networking meetings, I found that I was exhausted between driving there and eating the big carb meal and chit chatting and all of that. And I thought, gosh, there's got to be a way to do this from home. And so I started Virtual Networkers, and we have grown to 4 chapters with more coming. And we have chapters in the United States and Europe, and we have members all over the globe. And it's such an honor to have you all here today. For those of you who have not done a virtual coffee date party, this is sort of an extravaganza, but we do host these quarterly in each of our chapters. It's a great way to get the coffee dates done, which is an essential part of our networking experience. I'll give it some instruction today on how to have effective coffee dates. I'll start that in a moment. I know many of you are experienced at it, but sometimes it's good to get the reminders. And then once I am done with that little tutorial, what I will do is I will use the power of Zoom technology to split you into pairs. And so you will get a prompt to go into a room, and somebody will join you there, and you will have time to do a coffee date. It'll be 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the time when we stop. I'll let you know. And then after that time passes, we'll reconvene. I'll shuffle you all up again, send you back out into another room, repeat, come back, shuffle you up one more time, and send you back out. So we're going to have 3 coffee dates done today. Hold on, put your seatbelts on. It's kind of like speed dating, but it's a lot of fun. And it really, because the time is a bit shorter, it really keeps you intentional with the coffee date because you don't have a lot of time to chat. You want to get down to business. So for those of you who are coming in, welcome. I would love for you to go into the chat box, put your first, last name, and email address in there. Everyone do that. When this meeting is over, I will send you an email. It'll have a link to the replay as well as a PDF of the chat transcript in case there's someone's email address or a link in there that you would like to capture. You will have that coming to you. Also, if you typically our virtual networkers meetings, we have time to do announcements at the end. We're not going to have time for that today. So if you have an announcement, whether you're a member or a guest, this is something that you need help promoting, maybe an ask that you have, a type of referral you're looking for, or a shout out, whatever that looks like. You can also use the chat box for that. Feel free to drop links to websites, landing pages, etc., so that we can connect with you after the meeting is over with. Are there any questions before I get started? I know some of you have been here before, many of you are members, so I know a lot of you are experienced at this. Okay, so I want to get us started with let's just set the stage here for coffee dates. I know many of you have done these. Some of you could probably teach this better than me, Connie Jo Miller, but I want to make sure that we are getting the most we can out of this experience, especially because many of you already know each other. And sometimes when we get into the coffee date, we want to talk about the weather and our kids and the dog and, whatever. And not that that's not important, but coffee dates are really all about referrals, right? This is your opportunity to ask for a referral from someone who may be able to refer clients to you and vice versa. So let's not lose sight of that as to what the coffee date is for. Coffee date is not for selling. It's not for trying to convert a client, although that could happen, but the intention is the referral. Sometimes I see entrepreneurs get coffee dates confused with discovery calls, get acquainted calls, those types of things. That's a different type of call altogether where you're actually trying to convert that person to a client. This is instead a kind of scratch your back, I'll scratch your back, I'll scratch mine kind of scenario where you're hoping to build a relationship with a referral partner. Now that things are back to opening up, I think a lot of you maybe be doing in-person coffee dates, but virtual coffee dates work well as well. And if you are not quite sure how to ask someone for a coffee date, the way to ask is this. Hey, I think I can refer clients to you. Would you like to do a coffee date? And the person's going to say yes. That's just it. They want to hear clients. Now, I shouldn't say that all the time. Some entrepreneurs, including me, don't have coffee dates as part of their marketing strategy, and that's okay. They'll let you know, but more than likely, that person will say yes because they, of course, want to get clients. And most people have a innate desire to help others. So if they can find out how they can help you, especially in the feminine model, they're going to be delighted to help you as well. So if you need help, asking for that coffee date, that's the question to ask. I can refer clients to, would you like to set up a coffee date? Now, when I was doing coffee dates, I found, especially the in-person ones, um, that they could really go on, like longer than 30 minutes. And as I mentioned, I'm a low energy person. And so when I was doing a lot of coffee dates in person, I found that it was helpful to sort of set the agenda. Okay, I'll admit I'm a bit of a control freak, so this comes through. But I share this with you in case you have found coffee dates to take too much time, or maybe when you get done, you're not quite sure if you got your information out and gathered the information. So what I used to do in a very friendly, lovely way was I would, in person or virtually, I would, because I was the one who asked the person for the coffee date, I would say, I'm so excited to meet with you. I know your time is valuable. Um, let's each talk about our own businesses for 15 minutes each. And I'm not kidding. I'd grab the phone, set the timer for 15 minutes, and be super intentional with that time. If you want to talk about chit chat and the kids and the weather and all that, then you can do that after you talk about your businesses. That's perfectly fine. But my permission slip to you is to own the meeting, to not be afraid to set the agenda. You can do it in a nice way. It doesn't have to be like you're bossy, but it's okay if you're bossy because that's what loud women do. But just, think about making
This
sure
meeting is being recorded.
you mute, mute, mute. Make sure everybody, knows that this is, to talk about referrals, how you can help each other. So while you're having this discussion with a person, the number one thing you want to make sure you know is who that person's ideal client is, and then make sure you're communicating that back to the person you're having a coffee date with. So this could be your ideal client for your entire business. It could be an ideal client for a particular program you're selling. If you're an author like me, maybe it's an ideal reader for your book, whatever that is, whatever your objective is, you want to make sure that you are sharing that information. And I used to have an ideal client flyer. I would take the ideal client information off my website. I'd format it in Microsoft Word with my logo, and I would bring that to my in-person coffee dates. That way that person had an actual piece of paper with that information on it. That's up to you if you want to uh, get documentation. But again, it gives that person a leave behind to take home with them so they know exactly who it is to refer to you. So make sure you know who your ideal client is before you go into a meeting, including today. Think about who you're going to ask for them to keep an eye or an ear to the ground, right? Who is the ideal client that you're looking for, whether it's a particular problem, program that you're looking for, or again, something broader, maybe a general ideal client. And then if that person says to you, oh, I know someone, like right then your pen should be on the paper. Who's this person? Can you introduce us? Is there a way to do it right there on your phone? Or can we do it right after the meeting? Make sure you get that person's name, first, last name, possibly their contact information. Don't let that information, don't just trust that person's going to follow up, not because they don't want to, but because they get busy, right? We get back into the day and then we forget, oh, I was going to, send this person over to Tracy and I forgot. So when they say, "Oh, I know this girl named Laura Templeton," like your pen should be going, Laura Templeton's a Laura, right? Like get the information down. And if you know someone, then be sure to share that information as well. So after the coffee date is done, now I'm going to just say most people have very successful coffee dates, and if they're going to fall down somewhere in this process, it's going to be right here. When they get done with the coffee date, they just move on with their day. They don't follow up. The fortunes in the follow-up, right? We've all heard this before. What I would recommend is after you do a coffee date, whether it's in person or virtual, so let's say you block that 30 minutes on your calendar, block the next 15 minutes for the follow-up email, for the follow-up things that need to go on your calendar. Just go ahead and just block all that time together so that immediately you're doing it. Because what you want to do is you want to email your coffee date person, and you, of course, thank her for the coffee date. You want to summarize who her ideal client is and the names of anybody you think might be a good fit, and mention that you'll reach out to these people right away, and then gently remind her who your ideal client is, and maybe if she mentioned names, maybe remind her to follow up as well. And so you'll send that follow-up email, and then if you have any introductions you need to make, you would do that next. And then the third step would be to go to your calendar. Because what the thing is about coffee dates is about keeping your name top of mind, right? And what often has, again, people have great intentions, but unless your name is top of mind, they're not going to give you referrals. So what you want to do is you want to go to your calendar and you determine the time that needs to pass. Maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's once a year, whatever, but you determine when you want to have another coffee date with that person. Coffee dates are never meant to be a one and done thing with one person. They are intended to be a series of coffee dates, constant, predictable coffee dates, so that you can constantly keep each other apprised of your businesses. Maybe your ideal clients have shifted, whatever the case may be. So go with your calendar and go, you know what, I had a great coffee date with Laura Templeton. I want to have another one with her in 4 months. So I'm going to put in my calendar to reach out to her 3.5 months from now to set up the second coffee date. It's so important to do this, and do it then, because you will, not that you would mean to, but you're going to forget, things are going to get busy, and then it won't happen. This is how you get clients, right? This is how you get clients, when you keep staying top of mind for this, and that's really your job. And so many of you have email newsletters, many of you might do warm letters, many of you might have birthday card. Add those people in with their permission, especially in Europe and Canada. Make sure you have their permission. Get them on your Keep in Touch campaigns, so that they not only are getting the phone calls to do coffee dates with you, but maybe they're getting the emails, the snail mail, the birthday cards, whatever the case may be. Make sure you're following them on LinkedIn. Make sure you're following them on all the social media as well. Again, it's all about top of mind for both of you. And so these are easy ways to slip into their periphery, and then, following up with those subsequent coffee dates. So for today, we're going to do coffee dates, as I mentioned. We're going to, I know there's a couple questions, and I'll get to them in just a second. I don't think I forgot you. We're going to do coffee dates today. So when you do coffee dates, which are going to be shorter than 30 minutes, I know it's compressed, but what I want you to remember is who your ideal client is. So if you need to scribble some notes right now before we get started, go ahead and do that. Make sure you share that information, and then make sure you receive that information. And don't be shy. Be a loud woman. Say, okay, I don't think I understand who your ideal client is. Could you tell me? And if that person who struggles, then that's okay. Do the best you can. And if you're struggling with figuring your ideal client, you are not alone. Just summarize the best you can at the moment. And as you get familiar with that, you'll be able to do another coffee date and then share the update. So let me go. I think Perdita had a question. So Perdita, do you want to go ahead and ask what you had? And hello, Perdita.
Hi, Jill. You answered my question already. That's why I lowered my hand, but thank you for remembering me.
Thank you. Well, it was good to say hello to you. Thank you very much. Anybody else have a question or a tip that they like to share? I know I saw some things flying into the chat box. Thank you so much for saying that. Laura Templeton, go ahead.
Would it be appropriate to actually schedule the next coffee date before you get off of the call?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. There's nothing like a captive audience. Now, I know maybe if somebody may push back on that, and that's okay. So just put a tickler in your calendar. But to me, if the person is truly a good referral partner, then you're going to want to. Now, on the flip side of that, after you have the coffee date and you're like, I don't want it, then don't schedule the follow-up call. You don't have to follow your instincts there. But you know, do that as soon as you can to make sure that you get that date on there. Any other questions or comments? I know, again, there was some wonderful stuff in the chat box. Let me just go through here. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Tanya. Ask if you can get into your email list, but make sure you have permission. Just don't add them in there. Gabriella's coming in, so let me go ahead and welcome her. So we're going to now get to the juicy part of the today. Thank you for listening to your class. I hope it was helpful. Raise your hand if it was helpful. Even I know so many of you are queens of the coffee dates, but I think it's important to, sometimes get the refresher, especially before we go right in. So for those of you who've never been in this craziness of the Zoom room, here's how it's going to work. First, I'm going to have to do math in my head. That'll take a moment. Then I will divide you into pairs. You may, depending on the math, you may have 3 folks in your room, whatever. 2 to 3 people will be in your private room. So once I tell Zoom to do this, you will get a prompt on your screen asking you to join a meeting room. You'll accept that, and it'll magically take you over to a magical land where you will have another person there to do the coffee date with. We're going to do a 20-minute coffee date. I will give you a minute warning before I shut the room, so you'll know to finish up your conversation. We'll come back here, and then we'll repeat the process. Just so you know, when we go into, oh, Rachel, I love you. Rachel did math for me. Just so you know that when you go into the meeting rooms, I will stop the recording because I can't record your individual rooms. You do have a chat box in your room. However, am not privy to it, so I can't capture it for you. So before you leave that individual meeting room, if there's something in the chat box you want, you're going to want to save it before that meeting room ends. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. So now I'm going to go into our breakout rooms. And because I don't have to do math anymore, this will go faster. And we're going to do this automatically. You may be with someone you know, maybe someone you don't know. Let's see how it goes. Okay, here we go. Open. Have fun. 20 minutes.